And that's where it starts at.
It is May 1st. Welcome to Wright County Board of Commissioners. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open my water bottle.
The minutes from April 24th. Does anybody have any adjustments, changes, concerns? Grammar police?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve
Second.
last week's minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda. We have anything that needs to be added or changed on the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second that?
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch.
It'd be nice to see a non-amended, break the amended
Wow.
minutes, yeah.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want removed for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Mr. Bob Heavela.
Okay, good morning, Board. The item I have on the agenda is to approve the Shattuck Estates plat. This is in Corunna Township. We have the proper fees, we have the proper signatures, the township has signed off on it, and the maps are in the conference room with the special pen.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve plat referred to as Shattuck Estates.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I happened to be at the Corunna Town Board meeting there discussing this, so I'm glad that they got everything worked out.
Any other discussions?
Just a request, Tammy and I have to go meet with a couple banks. If Lee or Mark, if you guys could bring that plat up to Trinity after you sign it.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Mr. Mark Mattice.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
All those in favor say no. I'm sorry. Oh, no, we haven't started. I'm sorry.
Here today to have you adopt a resolution authorizing appropriate county officials, naming myself, to sign grant application agreements and certifications for the Wright County Snowmobile Association for their participation in the Grant and Aid Snowmobile Assistance Program for the 2018-2019 season. Grant applications are due May 15th. This is the last order of business, kind of a routine.
Mr. Chair, I'll move forward that resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussions? I got one. About how much do we get every year?
It went down this last year.
Yeah.
The license registrations and the gas that goes to it, it's $664 this upcoming year. That comes to Wright County. I review the paperwork, and then it goes back to the clubs. So it's kind of an in and out. We're the fiscal agent.
So what kind of money this year then?
About 64,000.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's.
It was up
nice
around
amount.
80, but we had a 20% cut last year and a 10% or 5% cut the year before. So, and it's
Trending down?
trending downward.
But they haven't been grooming as much either though, so I probably.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, there hasn't been as much snow. This year we got snow.
Last
Well,
week,
not until it's too late.
After the trails are closed, they could, so.
if we get a snowy winter, registration, snowmobile sales will go up, and so will the performance grant cycle. Hopefully a cycle.
So hopefully, so what you're saying is pray for snow for next year?
Yeah.
Starting
in the season.
October,
Well,
September?
let's wait for at least Thanksgiving.
I think, okay. All right, resolution, Commissioner Burrell.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the next item is simply a revised resolution with one number changed, or, yes, one number changed from a resolution you adopted on April 3rd. The DNR requires a resolution authorizing signatures on an application for a highway easement across their land. I think you have an aerial photo in your packet. This is on the CASA 9 project down on the east side of Waverly Lake. And there was one number that was wrong in the legal description, and so we've revised it and have this resolution before you, which would rescind your earlier resolution.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the revised resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussions?
And, Chief Deputy, then this would rescind the other one. Is it in the wording somewhere, or it just will?
Yes, it's, I think it's number 2 under, now therefore, or number 1 under, now therefore be it resolved.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay, I was looking at the wrong side. Thank you.
Do you have something? Commissioner?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Resolution, Commissioner Vetch.
Aye.
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 He threw him off.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trying to confuse you, Charlie. Obviously, it's working.
I was reading.
He was reading.
Oh.
Don't bother me when I'm reading.
Chief Deputy Hoffman. Oh, we're 2 minutes early. You just stand there and look handsome for 2 minutes.
Would you like me to proceed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I have 2 items on the agenda today. I believe the first one was the Federal Boating Safety Supplemental Equipment Grant for $39,900. This is a new grant we applied for this year. Is to replace what is referred to as the Go Devil boat. It's a low water boat. This is, we're able to purchase a similar boat that the DNR uses on the rivers and the shallow waterways. This is not a matching fund. You'll notice it does say the 2017 Federal Boating Safety Supplemental Grant. I believe that's accurate. All the paperwork says 2017. I think it's because of the federal fiscal year is still 2017, I believe. So we're asking you to sign that so we can go forward with the purchase of this replacement boat.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Deputy, is this that airboat,
No.
or is this a different type of
No,
boat?
this is, this boat can operate on the Crow River, like we had the drowning the previous year, where the airboat, because of the low-lying branches. This one's more maneuverable also because it has reverse, unlike the airboat where you're going forward until you
Okay.
hit
something.
This is a flat bottom jet boat, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm with you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the grant for the amount of $39,900.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any other discussions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Vetch.
are we selling the old one then and using the proceeds with that conjunction with these grants to purchase the new one? Or?
I would have to defer to the finance on that. Typically, when we sell an item at auction, it goes into the general fund, so it.
But you're gonna liquidate the old one?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
The second grant I have today is the 2018 Federal Supplemental Boating Safety Patrol Grant in the amount of $9,500. This grant supplements the Wright County Sheriff's Office water enforcement weekend grant shifts in the summertime. Provides extra enforcement over those peak summer times on our lakes and rivers.
And Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the 2018 Federal Supplemental Boating Safety Patrol Grant in the amount of $9,500.
Second that.
Oh. Give it to Chris.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewson. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Dicey down there for the votes.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I interrupt this meeting to announce that Quarters of Commerce funding for I-94 from 241 to County Road 37, St. Michael to Albertville, is one of 4 projects that received funding in the amount of $56 million.
Wow.
This came over the wire from Virgil
And they just released that information this morning then, right?
just moments ago.
The 56 million, is that enough to do the project? Is that what it was budgeted at?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly, there was some talk whether the collector distributor were in or out. I don't know exactly what that entailed. I'll have to get the rest of the information. But I know we were looking at about $60 million total for that project.
And that's why they purchased those 2 pieces of property in Albertville for stormwater?
Those were going to be purchased regardless if this went or not, but I just had the precursor that if they did that, they kind of anticipated this happening. There's actually 3 properties they purchased, and one in particular would be a real challenge to build on it because of the soil sitting there.
Wow,
Good.
great.
Nice to hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Brandon Steen, Assistant Jail Administrator.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Chair, members of the board. I have today a proclamation and resolution to make May 6th through 12th of this year National Corrections Officer Week. Correctional officers and employees are capable, committed, patient, and persistent professionals. They serve admirably in correctional facilities all across the country as chaplains, teachers, counselors, supervisors, managers, and directors. They help keep our citizens and communities safe. Correctional officers and employees teach, train, mentor, preach, and cure. Though the job of correctional officers and employees is often very challenging and at times stressful, the thousands who work the corrections professions every day perform their duties well and with great pride. They are brave, courageous, and tenacious individuals who put their lives and health at risk every day to have the public safe and provide a multitude of services to the nation's offenders. They have a tremendous responsibility and are owed our nation's gratitude. Our Wright County Corrections Officers are most deserving of our respect, our thanks, and highest praise. They are well-trained, always on watch, and prepared to meet any challenge. The men and women working in the Sheriff's Office Jail Division make a difference in our communities. They work with and manage more than 4,000 offenders a year in our county. Their abilities and reputation have allowed us to successfully work with multiple jurisdictions, assisting them with overcrowding issues, as well as disciplinary and behavior management problem inmates. On behalf of the Sheriff and the Sheriff's Office Command, we commend those who serve in the corrections profession. A resolution.
Nice.
All right. The resolution proclaiming May 6th through 12th as Corrections Officer and Employee Week in Wright County. Whereas correctional officers are trained law enforcement professionals dedicated to maintaining a safe correctional facility and ensuring the public safety. And whereas as the Wright County Jail is run by highly qualified and experienced individuals with deep understanding of the challenges within the profession. And whereas the correctional officers and employees are responsible for the custody, care, and rehabilitation of thousands of offenders every year, as well as the maintenance of safe and secure facilities. And whereas correctional officers and employees are resourceful, capable, committed, patient, and persistent professionals in criminal justice and our nation. And whereas correctional officers and employees serve admirably in many different capacities, including programmers, supervisors, nurses, chaplains, clerical, and administrators. And whereas correctional officers and employees teach, train, mentor, counsel, and treat thousands of offenders. And whereas correctional officers and employees provide offenders with direction, hope, and a new focus while assisting with reentry and life outside of corrections. And whereas correctional officers and employees rise to meet any challenge and serve this honorable profession nobly and admirably, and now therefore be it resolved that we, the Wright County Board of Commissions, do hereby acknowledge the week of May 6th through the 12th, 2018 as Corrections Officers Week in honor of the dedicated professionals who serve the citizens of Wright County by supervising the county's inmate population.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept this resolution.
Second.
honoring our corrections officers.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Burrell. Do you have any other discussions?
It's nice to have a little historical perspective on this, is that this was initially passed by President Reagan. Now I lost, I'm flipping my pages over, so.
1984.
1984.
Yep.
So it's carried on for all these years, and it's a very challenging yet rewarding career. So it's great to have the people that we have in our
69.
jail.
Yep, 69 staff currently right now, so.
Yeah, no, it's not a job that I don't think I could do.
It's
Takes a special person.
yeah,
Mr.
right,
Chair,
I know,
with all
kinda
due
takes
respect, I
special,
think you're running an asylum of your own right now, so that's, as a business owner.
Yeah. I know.
Many different skill sets, so you just have to be
Oh, yes.
prepared for anything.
Something new every day.
Yeah,
That is.
and I think that would be the challenging part.
And maybe this would be a good article for the paper. I don't know.
But,
You never know. Maybe.
You know, maybe what you should offer is a couple of free nights to a, an editor that could spend some time and get to know some of the residents.
yeah, I
And
I
know.
don't know how you can get in there.
Well, Chisago County was offering
Right.
those
The new
free
jail.
stays.
They had a fundraiser, basically, you pay $100 or whatever to spend a night in jail. And
Yep, their new place.
when they first moved into that jail, they had employees that did spend the night in the new jail because that was the weekend of the Halloween blizzard.
Oh.
And so people couldn't the people that actually made it to work stayed. So-
I think I remember paying the $100 to get out of jail.
that's all you got by cheap.
You did get back cheap.
All right, any other discussions?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution. It's a resolution.
I didn't see it.
There's
Oh,
not
maybe
one
it's a
printed.
proclamation.
We'll
Okay.
do it as a roll call vote.
Okay.
Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Board.
Thank you, good job.
So, thank you, Brent.
Yeah, it's the resolution here, so.
I did say resolution, but there was no.
I failed to ask somebody to do the committee of the whole minutes. Is there anybody that would like to step up to the plate and take those?
Derek would be more than happy to do that.
I can do all the minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, I can happily go. But I'm doing the other two, so I'd let somebody
you
else
are.
talk a little bit, but.
Anybody?
I'll do the coordinator administrator part of it, and then somebody else can do the 12%.
All right.
I can do
So,
that.
anyway, this is, back before the board is, committee of the whole. We've talked about it since, maybe 5.5 years, 6 years, somewhere in that area. And, there seems to be growing, interest that it go to an administrator. I mentioned in here that I still have some concerns. I like Lee as a coordinator. I probably like him as administrator. I don't think that would change, but, anyway, we had, Commissioner Delyden expressed some concern, that currently some departments do not comply with the county's policies, and he thinks that the administrator, I do believe that if I'm not putting words in your mouth, that would have a little bit more coordination and coordination as an administrator, but a little more influence as far as keeping rules like that enforced consistently across the county. Sheriff Haggerty was here. I asked him about the administrator thing, and he said it would be nice to just have one person to make the call. Sometimes he said things come up where he wants kind of some input on something that might come up, and he said it would be nice to have that single contact. And it says on here, discuss the procurement policy that does set parameters on what can be approved by a coordinator, a department head, and what is required to go before the board. Attorney Kreiser clarified that the board, that elected officials do not have to follow county policies, however, some do, but they have the authority to deviate from those policies, so. Anyway, we basically, it doesn't say what we came up with, but I think it was,
The last one.
okay, the board, it's not in highlight, usually it's darker. The board will schedule another meeting in May to review the administrator job application, so we're gonna keep this process going until I'm off the board in 2 years now. Anyway, so we're gonna have another meeting in May to go over it in a little bit more detail, so.
I can take the 12%.
More or less just informational at this time.
Kind of stemming, we had a meeting, committee of the whole, stemming kind of from some of the points that I brought to the board here on kind of the 12% and above hiring. So we decided as a group to sit down together to discuss this in detail, kind of going back and forth in light of no strong solution at the current time. We've been with the tough labor market, but given some details that Sean put together, the numbers don't look as terrifying as once thought, as far as the volume of employees being hired at that. In 2018, or 2017, it was it
89.
89 new hires, and was it, I'm sorry, I'm missing the point on there. I set aside. What is the, I want to make sure I get the number out there. It's only, there were 89 employees in 2017, and only 7 of them started above the 12%. So we're still tracking below 10% on that. We have a little bit more of a spike here in 2018, but yet we're still running not much above 10% for people starting, 10% of the new hires in this year starting above that 12%. So we're still keeping that out, and we're kind of going to let it play out to see if the comp and class study will rectify this. So basically, the recommendation is that there was no recommendation, and that we'll continue the similar practice of 12% going to the personnel committee and looking for approval on that, and we'll do it on a case-by-case basis.
Did you guys see the 2018
Yeah, the
information? Do you remember, Lee?
24 hires, wasn't it?
As of April for 2018, we've hired 25 employees, and currently only 5 of those have been above the 12% for
That's about 20% for this year, but that's still early in the year, so that could rectify out that we'll probably finish close to the 10% of hires, is what my guess is.
And since lobbying was also one of your favorite subjects, we might also discuss that too.
Yeah, why not? So, brought to the committee of the whole was the discussion of lobbying. Some of us board members have spent a decent amount of time tracking, following, and lobbying for pieces of legislation in St. Paul. Some of them are complicated, to say the least. We had wanted some discussion from the board of a whole to decide feelings on going forward, if it may be in our best interest to either maybe have a lobbying firm on retainer or to actually contract with one. It was basically a discussion. I don't see any recommendation there. There wasn't. I think we were just going to keep following up on this because I thought we were going to find out what a retainer cost was.
Yeah, I thought we had asked you to.
Please.
For a retainer.
Yeah,
Kind of checking out.
I took it as the board wanted a little more information. I'd gotten a rough amount of what it would be in a monthly or an annual retainer. However, what did that get us, I think, was kind of the question.
Yep.
Yep. So, basically, this is probably the first of maybe a few discussions that we'll have on this. And basically looking at this point to come forward with a little bit more numbers, a little bit more information of what we get for the money that would be spent in lobbying. The last item, strategic planning, was held off to another date due to the length of this committee of the whole. With that, I will make a motion to approve the committee of the whole minutes and its recommendations.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, just that maybe, we usually have the recommendation, kind of in bolder print. Maybe it'd be nice if they did that on this too. Even if it's just recommendation, just information only.
Some of them didn't have any, I don't know, I think it's kind of yeah.
Okay,
Depends who does the minutes.
all right, thank you.
All right, any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Chair, I'll take the
Yep.
CIP.
Finance CIP, Commissioner Vetch.
All right, so last Wednesday on April 25th, myself, Commissioner Dowliden, Auditor Hevala, Sue Regine, Lindsay Meyer, Adam Tagaro, and were present, and others present were Asselson, Goodrum Schwartz, Hoffman, Meyer, Nelson, Partlow, and Strobel to discuss the county Finance CIP Committee. This is our second meeting this year to discuss the kind of changes that we brought forth in terms of levying CIP. This one here kind of illustrates out, if you look at it, as to kind of pools of money that we are looking to allocate out based on trying to fulfill a goal. I guess I'm going to start it out as kind of from when we went back to our committee of the whole, where Bob's office presented the fiscal strategies and basically kind of preliminary showing what levies would look like. We put a number of 2.5 in there million, and this is kind of what we put for pools of money based on that $2.5 million. So that's kind of where that number, that total that I want, because that was kind of the number that felt sustainable based on where our where the numbers were. So. But this 2.55 that's there basically has the 1.1 million for the ERP. Basically, we're looking at having to have that for about 2 years, for basically 2019 and 2020. After 2020, we'd have to readjust this because the ERP would fall off, and we would either can lower the CIP down or reallocate, however, whatever, see what the needs are at the time. Based on the highway departments, this is basically, my goal was on this was some of these departments to try and fulfill their needs. They were going to need to have those dollar amounts for about 5 years to save up to complete some of the projects that they were hoping to fulfill. Basically, the $450,000 on the highway department is what it was going to take them over a 5-year period to do their expansion on the Otsego shop, and then to do the potential shop change in the Annandale, French Lake area. The sheriff's CIP, basically over a 5-year period, would be kind of a potential amount of money that they would need for any kind of training facility that they were going to look at for this cost that the county share roughly, taking $300,000 over 5 years. But some of these ones may change depending on timing.
Oh, Charlie, this kind of addresses what you had talked about, saving for the future.
Yeah.
And planning for the future.
Yep.
So,
And having it more stable instead of up and down, up and down.
and it's easier for us to account for. We know where the money's coming from. We're not looking at possibly in the future having to use reserves to shore up approved CIP expenses.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And also with the CIP, it's to anticipated costs, your boilers, your glazing of windows, and all these other things that come up regularly, have those in there so you don't say, oh, by the way, we have to do this.
Right.
I mean, this is a way to keep the tax bills kind of stable, because it'll identify projects not just for us, but future boards.
Yeah.
So this is quite a fluid document, and there'll be things added, subtracted through years in this as different needs come up. This is a perfect way to do budgeting, so you can explain that to the taxpayers, where we're spending the money at and why we're spending it.
And it's so much better to be proactive than reactive, and because we have to be reactive and certain things come up that weren't anticipated, but for so many things that we can plan, we know it's going to happen, so it's just a question of when we can build it in, and so, yep.
One
Way to do it.
thing we really didn't discuss, and I don't know what the building committee's thoughts have been, but regarding the compost facility, we never did plan that at all in here.
In terms
That
of,
I'm aware of.
we left out all the building expenses because we knew that regardless, we were going to have to do a bond, either potentially a bond to remodel this building or the other building, and all those other subsequent building items will probably get turned into that bond. That's the reason we didn't put any of the building items onto it, because it was going to be kind of a one-time dump into it. There might be some ones that we might have to look at in 2020, but right now we're hoping whichever way we go, whether we remodel this building or whether we build a new building, all of those ticket items that were under the building category would be covered underneath however we fund that
As opposed
expense.
to capital improvement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe a footnote in there that any future buildings are not placed in the capital improvement at this time, or whatever the language. So
Yeah.
people, well, where's the building for this? Well, it's not in this, it's gonna be addressed over in this other arena, just so people know. Because a county of our size, our CIP should be sizably larger than what we're putting in here, but you gotta crawl before you walk, and we're going basically from zero, we're moving our way up to where we need to be for a county our size for anticipated expenses. And it's a tough pill to swallow, because, when you take the county program aid, you put levy dollars into this, they're painful at the beginning, but it is the correct way to do it, just slowly work our way up to where we need to be in this.
Right.
Mr. Chair, and we also did ourselves a good service last year by including that MCIT and that CPA funds into the CIP last year. Kind of coming into this year, it allows us to be able to get to that 3.3 with only having to levy the 2.5 to accomplish what we need to for our. And in this way, it's also, we have a really well defined on how we are going to pay for the ERP project and where the money's coming from. So.
Yep, good.
Good work.
Were you able to make the ERP
Yes, I
meeting on
was.
Friday? How did that go?
The ERP meeting went really well. We got some illustrations as to what we're going to getting for it. They'll be coming out once, potentially twice. I think twice is what our goal was, correctly?
Right. That was the thought.
Basically, the 80,000, it covers all of the time, but does not cover the travel expenses. So we will have some, I don't remember, we were going to flush out what that dollar amount was going to be,
Yeah.
but it wasn't going to be that much more over the 80,000 for the travel expenses.
Dirk, did you make a motion to approve the?
Oh, and I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations and the minutes from the CIP Finance Committee.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any other discussions?
I do want to note that these numbers are still fluid when we're recommending these, because we do have one more CIP meeting yet in the end of May. So that those are still, I should say we approve the minutes. There's really no recommendations on this.
And I know these pages are really hard to read, but if you go online, you can see them a lot better, a lot easier.
And one more note, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before we go on. From 2018 to 2022, the bottom line proposed budget for all CIP projects is $74 million, just for the public to understand that there's a lot of projects in here, and they get weeded out which ones you can do and at what point in time and where they fall in the ranking, but that's what we're looking at this point in time. Like I say, it's a fluid document, it can change, but it's important to know, so it's not just like, say, knee-jerk things today. These are things that have been thought out for a while, and these are all on the list, and they've been subject to change.
Mr. Chair, just so you note that that 74 million, that includes the court's facility. So that, so I want to make sure that they understood that.
Good, that's a good point to clarify, because anybody who read this would have a hard time picking that
I
out.
want to make sure they read, otherwise that number's looking ridiculously inflated.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is too, that it doesn't state where some of the funding's coming from, because some of it is money out of the Recorder's Fund. Some of it is grants for parks and stuff, so.
Correct. Well, but those are all good things to explain, because when you look at the bottom line here, they're going, oh my Lord, what are you guys doing here? But when you start saying this is that and this, that, you can get a better idea that you're thinking about all the different pieces of the puzzle here and how they fit in.
And Mr. Chair, just so we know that this will look a little bit different, we are pulling out all the recorder-funded programs out of this CIP, so it's going to kind of live in its own separate area.
It'll make it easier to read.
A little bit easier to reason. That way we can actually qualify which things recorder funds can pay for, and anything else that can't be, recorder funds can't be used to fund will end up going into the CIP IT.
Yeah, it's nice to break out too, if you have grants and that kind of thing, because a lot of the parks
Yeah.
items would be grant funded as opposed to taxpayer funded.
All right. Any other discussions?
Yep.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Vetch, could you talk about the Technology Committee minutes?
Sure.
We haven't heard from you in a while.
We might as well go.
I was basically living here pretty much most of the day on Wednesday last week, so I'm not going to read off the packed room that we have for our IT meetings, because they're pretty awesome. Everybody likes to come and watch and participate. So we had our continued IT project portfolio update. Basically, we kind of covering some of the last items on the list that we needed to place into the priority. I guess a lot of it, we had some discussion on some items that are covered or not covered under the ERP. We had some more discussion on the EDMS and where that's at, and whether some of the different departmental EDMS projects, whether they need to be moved up, moved down on the list. So the other ones is we also discussed what the Office 365 OneDrive implementation was, and where it's placed in the priority, and whether it can, when it will take place. We also discussed the sheriff's body cams implementation and where that would take place, and that one was discussed that it's more out towards like 2021, 2022, so it can stay kind of more on its hold, lower on the list, because we're not anywhere near moving forward with that project. Let's see here, then basically we also moved a few items up and down the list. The list is open, available on SharePoint. I think, is it open to everybody to see at this point?
In-house here, yeah.
In-house. I think for internal staff board members, if you want to look at the list now that it's, do I dare say finalized?
Well, it's a lot closer than it ever has been.
Yeah. At this point, we've gone through the entire list, and everybody's got their chance to put their 2 cents in, and at this point, going forward, we should get some continuous status updates on to how much work has been done on these projects, and that'll be kind of ever-changing, so we can kind of track them a little bit better.
Yeah, that's good. It's going to be nice to be able to figure some of that out. Give us a better idea going forward too on how much time a new project will take.
Yep. There was, the action was to discuss the sheriff's project at the next meeting. Other than that, that was all for the project portfolio. The next item was the ERP update. We had our, basically kind of a little preliminary talk about our meeting that we were going to have last week. That was Friday, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, Friday morning, the small ERP group outside of IT met with Infotech, and Infotech give us the short and skinny of what they will do for us in this RFP process, and helping us develop an RFP and helping us make a selection through the RFP process. The biggest thing right now is we need to kind of get you can help me with this, Lee. We have the short list of the projects, but we need to get the potential nitty-gritty items vetted out, correct?
Right.
Yep.
That's a good summary way to put it.
Yeah. Trying to figure out how I'm going to word it without it getting too complicated, though. So once we get that process going down, we also have to kind of go to the process of determining, because if I do this right, this is potentially 2 RFPs. One would be for the ERP itself, another one would be for the implementer. Because some of them would be wrapped into one, because some ERP firms actually do their own implementation, but I would venture to say over 50% of them do not. Was that pretty much what we were told? So at that point, kind of working our way through that aspect of it, but over the next, going for mid-July was when we were hoping.
We're hoping summer, yeah.
Yeah, hoping for summer, but over the next 30, 40 days, we'll be beginning that process of finding out what nuances of software that we have could be included in this ERP outside of the high fiscal and HR items that are driving the project at this point. But there's maybe some other records and stuff that we could include into it.
So more to come.
More to come on that.
On how it's going to help the county in the long run.
Yep.
It better help the county in the long run.
Oh, it's a substantial amount of money.
Positive mental attitude, keep it.
Yeah, no, and looking at other counties that have implemented it, the biggest problem that they encounter is people not wanting to do any change.
Well, the big thing is,
Just interchange, yes.
this will actually put strong universal fiscal controls throughout the county and how everybody reports all of their finances uniformly from all departments, and that's key for an organization of this size.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever heard what the other term for ERP stands for, and it's Excel replacement plan.
Okay.
Because everybody has all these Excel worksheets because our existing system does not have good reporting features.
Yeah.
That with the new ERP system, a lot of that goes away. So it's a time saver in that respect. So,
Yeah, I was going to actually, well, finish your notes, and then I'll make a request.
Sure, absolutely. So then the third item was Office 365. The migration exchange is almost complete. The Office 365 now is moving into the business for Skype and other features that are starting to roll out here. I believe that's almost 50%, going to be 50% here shortly. That was an informational update only. The Zerker update, the project is going well with a lot of activity. The attorney's office is preparing agreements with the parties involved. The police departments are preparing their data, user lists, and other items for integration with Zerker. IT continues to make progress on this project. That one was informational only. And credit card implementation updates. This one has ever changed because this one continues to change outside of our IT committee. But we're getting closer here. Just the other week, Scott Wieland and Lindsay went over to Sherburne County and took a look at Forte. Forte had a lot of good positive features that we could use in a lot of different areas within the county, especially the point of sales, the desktop, the over-the-counter transactions. That was one of the barriers that we had with going forward with Paymentus. So we're still in the process of determining which departments have specific vendors that we have to use. There's some through the recorder's office that have a certain vendors that we have to use for them, and same with the DMV. So we're trying to make a list so we can determine which areas we're stuck using these vendors, and then all the other areas, if we can incorporate them into one or two vendors that will meet our needs the best. But ultimately, we're learning that there are vendors that are very, very specific to online and phone payments, and then there are other vendors that are very specific to over-the-counter point-of-sales services. It's very, I'm going to say it's very difficult or almost impossible to find a vendor that is great at all of them. So that's why the new approach is no longer are we trying to find one vendor to do it all. We are trying to find the vendors that will do the best for the departments that we need.
and try to keep it to a minimum.
And try to keep it to a minimum, yep.
And one of the issues that we did find recently, and I actually asked that Brian from the attorney's office to comment on it. Brian, would you come up? Sure. According to the DMV at the state, they say we have to use U.S. Bank, and they sent us a copy of the statute. Is that what it is?
There was a link, Mr. Chair, there was a link to a statute that regulates all state agencies. What I'm not clear on is how the system works. When I go in to buy license tabs at the License Bureau, I'm making a payment here, but I'm assuming that money is remitted to the state.
Later.
Because it's a tax. Yeah, so that's the question is, they're saying that the state approved by the Bureau of Management and whatever it is. I can't remember the acronym.
Budget and management.
Budget, yeah.
Right, down at the state, their approved vendor is U.S. Bank. And so that's, the question I can't answer is, can we use one vendor here, a different vendor, for our end of the transaction, and then, you know, it has to be U.S. Bank for the money that we remit to the state? Because I just don't understand the ins and outs of the system. I can read you the statute and tell you that we are not a state agency, so we're not bound by
state
the
rule.
statute that I'm reading, but we have to deal with the Department of Public Safety, and they are bound by that statute.
That might be another.
Clear as the crow, right?
And it, you know, and then it states in there what interest or what convenience fee amount has to be and everything.
Yeah, you have to charge the 2.45 that the US bank, or that the DMV or the state has. We can't take our 2.35 that we have, so
Yeah, we have to charge more.
we have to charge more, yeah.
So, I'm thinking that when we meet with our legislators next year, this may be some discussion we may want to have that we're not state-owned. Why are we being forced to have to go with, it just makes it more difficult for us to do our job because now we have to go with another supplier. We can't go best for the residents of the county.
It doesn't make sense, though. I mean, right now, we're not paying them with credit card.
No.
We're
And-
transferring money down to their bank. What's the difference?
And that's what we would be doing in the future
Exactly.
too.
So it's no different. They wouldn't even need to know that we're using credit cards.
Except Elk River was using Forte at their DMV, and they were told to stop, and they were told they had to use US Bank. So, that was the
I
answer to the
didn't
one
know,
question
but
you
yeah,
have.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you all the little things, I wanted to get your.
Well, my question was what other counties were doing, because every county is dealing with this, I'm assuming, so.
Well, yes and no, so, thank you for that info. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, I just wanted
Yeah.
everybody to,
You're good, there, we have a lot of stuff going on with this IT stuff, so.
yeah, the credit card processing, it just,
Yeah.
it's been so,
Well, it's only been 5 years, Mark.
Yeah, but, I mean, I've learned that I've learned a lot about a lot of different processors
Yeah.
in the last couple months, let me tell you.
yeah. So unfortunately, we won't find a one-size-fits-all for us. We'll be stuck with a number of them.
So with that, I will make a motion to accept the minutes and recommendations for the IT committee from April 25th.
I'll second that with a request.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, we hear all these acronyms, but someone that maybe just moved to the county and they look at our minutes and they're saying, what is ERP? What is EDMS? Because they're not spelled out. What is HHS? What is, you know, CTSV and CSCCM? You know, like way back when we were first learning to write, you know, if you're going to use an acronym, first you write out the word and then you put the acronym in parentheses for the first reference, and then you can, you know, use it. But we get so used to using these acronyms, but when I read these, because I don't know what SCCM is.
SCCM, let me find out.
I was under the 365 project. I mean, I figured out what CTSV is, the court services
Yeah, that's their,
representative, but
yep.
SCCM it's part of Microsoft.
Yep.
so.
That allows us to
Yep.
push out stuff. But yeah, I don't know if they even have a real name for it.
There had to be a real name somewhere. But anyway, just because if you're reading, you know, we deal with so many acronyms, and it's nice for people to understand what we're talking about.
I should have made that request last year, because I tell you, that whole last year, it took me the first 6 months, and like, okay, now I
know.
finally feel like I'm coherent to understand
Yep.
all the acronyms, so.
We seem to have a few more in this
Then
one.
I
and
confide to you guys, and here I am using all the acronyms.
I know. I have no idea what it is. I mean, I have no idea what these letters stand for, but I know what it is.
So, would that be doable to change it so that
The first one is
the name
like electronic data management system, and then
Pass it
EDMS,
along
and,
to
yeah.
IT when they
That'd be
write
great.
their minutes.
Yep,
Yeah, they do their own minutes.
right. I know that you guys don't do that, but,
All
thank
right.
you.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Betts, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
What is this?
Item B, firearms range.
What is that?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to put this on here. As you may know, In the past, we were approached by the FBI about the potential of locating a facility of theirs out on our current site that we use for firearms training. I kind of wanted to put it on the board as an update so everybody could know. I know staff did meet on Friday, and unfortunately, I was hoping to have more solid information for this meeting, but so the FBI, I know, was on site last Friday, I believe it was, or Friday before, looking at our site. So we'll be getting more information from them, including kind of on the costing and what funds they'll provide. If the chief deputy would like to give some update as well.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Thank you.
What's the acronym for this?
So yes, we are still in discussions with the FBI on on a joint range training facility out at Rassett Pit. They did come out last Friday, some representatives from the DC office along with the Minneapolis field office. I believe Commissioner Vetch, myself, Captain Sean Derringer met out at the facility with them. It's still a little bit up in the air as far as the exact amount that the FBI will be providing for this project. It is also up in the air what the scope of this project actually is, what the requirements are for this range. So what we're doing currently at the Sheriff's Office, and like we said, we met on Monday with Bob Hivela's office and also Assistant County Coordinator Sue Virgin. Basically trying to identify some of the costs associated with the county. What is the county going to have to do to make this project feasible? Roadway, utilities, also identifying some of the other maybe add-ons or potential add-ons. Like Adam Tagara's office is looking at a possible data center, offsite data center. The EEOC. So we're trying to identify some of those costs, some of those square footages that might be needed for this building, and then so that we can come back with some numbers either to the building committee or a finance committee or some other committee, and hopefully at that time to the FBI we'll have a scope, some basically requirements for this building and for this facility. So they're still talking roughly $2 million. I tried a couple different times to get a firm answer, but it was definitely it was a good conversation, but they're definitely from Washington, D.C.
Well, it's a good thing you're not dealing with the CIA, because then you would have no ideas what you'd be getting.
I don't even know what that means, CIA.
And DC is,
Mr. Chair, there's one thing that I did say that I think one thing we should do preliminary, because even for future use, is shoring up a better entrance to that road out there. I didn't realize how poor it was till driving out there. That I don't think I was questionable whether I was going to make it back there. It's pretty rough shape.
Yeah, the spring thaws really beat it up, and we shared that drive is shared with another gravel pit company. But that is one of the things that is on our list. Right now, we've assigned Lieutenant Matt Treichler as kind of the sheriff's office project liaison, and he on his to-do list is meet with Virgil Hawkins and his staff and talk about that facility and potential costs associated with it.
Mr. Chair, I hope once the staff has a kind of a high-level view, so we can come back as probably a committee of the whole to discuss the interest in what the potential county side of what we want to put into it and what the potential costs are. Because maybe by that time, they're supposed to give us those high levels of what they would want for $1 million, what they would want for $2 million, the scope of work that the FBI was looking for, and they were talking about sending that over, correct?
There was a high level already sent to us.
I'm sorry?
No, that was just the
MOU.
MOU. But this would be actually a scope of actually what they would want for square footage and so forth.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
because there are some things that they did state in there.
Correct. Some of the items such as electronic movable targets. How much is that? I've heard anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 for these movable
Guys that flip.
targets. So, and again, at this point, it's too soon to bring that MOU to the board for approval because I could not tell you what it is, how much it's going to cost to meet their requirements. I just don't know.
Can we
It's
hire,
feasible.
can we hire Charlie to flip those boards?
Kind of like the pin setters years ago
Kinda,
before they
yeah.
come up with the automatic ones.
Yeah, for bowling. yeah.
Sometimes those guys got hurt though.
Because there's a lot of other costs that with going forward, we'd have the cost of putting in water, sewer out there and pulling the electrical in. And then as well as shoring up that driveway. Those are the kind of
Oh, yeah.
The roadways, the parking, it's all,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll add up.
Water and
Yep.
sewer.
And a lot of those costs are outside of the bureau's costs. So those would be ones that we would definitely be shoring up as a county. That's a given, so.
We can't use outdoor biffies if we're in there.
Yeah, well, depending on how, far you need to go down for the well, that can get kind of expensive.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
So more to come on that. Reschedule committee of the whole meeting regarding furniture, equipment, and technology cost share for the Justice Center.
Did Monica change that on us?
Yeah, she canceled it at the last moment. So I was thinking that if they can't come to a date that works for us, we just say they can cover everything.
We pick.
Wouldn't that work?
You can propose many things.
All those in favor? What dates do we have?
We landed on two potential dates and times, May 30th at 11:30. Otherwise, the 6th, June 1st, 6/1, either at 10:30 or 1:30.
We're going really far out, huh?
We did move committee date to May 30th, so that may be a conflict with the technology committee. I guess I would recommend we maybe look at June 1st at 10:30, if that works.
May 30th, what date, what time?
Well, maybe
May
Michael.
30th won't work for me either. I'll have Transportation Alliance Board.
June 30th won't work for you?
May 30th.
I mean, yeah.
Depends if you're gonna go out to take the White House tour on the 31st.
I know, that looked kind of
That
like,
looked interesting.
it's almost worth flying out to Washington for that.
I know, they have a NACO meeting on the night before, and then they have the.
I know, I actually seriously am thinking about that.
I was thinking the same.
1st of June?
We can just-
31st of May.
1st of June on a Friday, at what time?
10:30?
June 1st at 10:30.
Would we have, no, that'd be fine. That won't-
Friday.
10:30.
Yep. Does that work for everybody?
All right, so we're going June 1st.
You be back, Mike?
I will be back. And that day fits.
Unless there's a snowstorm and your flight is canceled?
You're in DC already tonight. You might as well be going to that White House deal.
Been there.
Been there.
Don't need to go there again. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to reschedule the committee of the whole meeting for June 1st, which is a Friday at 10:30, to discuss the court's furniture, equipment, technology, cost share.
I'll second that.
Perfect.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussions?
I just have to tell Matisse to be short at Bertram.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, if we even have one. We're gonna meet here in the courtroom then? I mean, in the boardroom?
You think that'd work?
Yep.
This is courtroom number 7 anyway.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
All right, any other discussion?
Yep.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Now Monica has to go get the blessing of the judges, the bench.
No, I already got that. I just,
Okay.
it takes time to move their calendars around because we have a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
time-sensitive cases, so.
Yeah.
We need ample time to be able to move that around and make them available.
Nature of the beast.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
All right.
Advisory committee, advisory board updates.
Item D.
One committee of
Wait,
the
we
whole.
forgot.
schedule.
Oh, yes,
Schedule.
D.
Oh, I'm
Schedule
sorry.
Committee of the whole for.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, yes, this is an item that came out of a set of minutes that you had earlier in the meeting. I didn't have a date necessarily picked out, but I kind of understood the board was looking towards the latter part of May for this meeting. That was kind of what I felt. I know on the 22nd, we've canceled our board meeting, and I know some of you will be unavailable. That last week of May, we're Memorial Day, but we do have a board meeting on the 29th. We could explore 30 on that day, perhaps. Otherwise, I'm open for suggestions.
Mike, will you be back on the 29th?
I'll be back. We got a board meeting that day. That'd be a perfect day to have this, because the other 3 days are starting to book up sale pretty quick.
Okay.
We
May
may want
29th?
to. We may want to go out to 11 o'clock or later. I don't know. Typically, when we have a week that's open, those get to be a little longer board
Yep.
meetings.
Yeah, 11
1
o'clock.
o'clock?
May
I'd say 11
29th at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock?
Did you
Okay.
say?
1 o'clock?
I thought you said 11 o'clock.
Either or. Whatever
What
works.
does people have?
11?
I'd rather do
11
11.
is
11, sounds good. We can do 11.
Administrator versus.
Perfect. They're gonna make you make a decision on it, Charlie, before your 2 years are up.
Trying to stretch this out.
Good luck.
I should clarify, May 29th of 2018,
Yes.
for Charlie's benefit.
He's thinking, he's gonna find that, I thought you
Mark-
said next year.
Mark hasn't given me my 2019 appointment book yet.
I'll have it here pretty soon.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, sure, that's a motion, to set for May 29th at 11 o'clock.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Burrell, what do you got going on from last week?
We had, last Tuesday, up at the Howard Lake Waverly Winston High School, it was kind of a joint symposium with Dassel-Cokato High School. And what it did, they talked about a lot of issues that we talk about at Safe Schools meeting. We had some, like 4 different breakout sessions that, the Sheriff's Department did presentations and the county attorney on like the opioid epidemic. They had other ones with mental health issues. They had some counselors that did a program, and it was open to all the parents. There was they had food and stuff there too. It was actually really well attended. We had different counseling firms that were there that work with the schools. We had people from Health and Human Services, Public Health there, giving out information. So the parents could come in and kind of see some of the emerging issues that are really influencing the kids and that they have to deal with as parents, and how to look for different signs, that they might be, to cut this off early and stuff. So it was actually a really good thing. So I'm gonna guess that it might go to some other schools, because I can only guess that it's gonna even be better attended next year when they have it. Anyway, that was about it.
Okay.
Sheriff Haggerty was there too, and like I said, it was just really well attended. So
META gave them a grant, so that helped with
okay,
enabling them
well,
to,
that's where the food came from. Maybe
well, I
I was on a diet, so I didn't eat. So
I had a busy week, but nothing to report here.
Okay. Nothing? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Give me a chance to look.
He's gonna look instead of listen.
I did get in the mail from Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I passed it on to Coordinator Kelly regarding our SCORE grant funding. And in that letter, it stated that we will no longer get any SCORE funding until we update our solid waste management plan.
Which we're in the process of.
Yeah, but I didn't think it had expired yet. I remember him saying something about it. It hadn't been done in a while that we should do it, but
I didn't realize
obviously, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
That's one way to motivate us.
We did find out at our Ways and Means meeting that we did not have a choice. We had to update it, but
Okay. That's about all I got.
All right. Well, let's see here. Last Wednesday, I had Safe Schools in Maple Lake, which was a good show and tell of e-cigarettes. They had a whole, I guess I'm going to call it a buffet of them to look at, not to try, but to look at. It was quite an interesting piece of information. Outside of that, then it was Thursday last week that we had the ERP meeting, which was good for the small group, which we kind of talked about earlier. I can happily say that as of Friday, Trailblazer is filled all of its upper management positions. We were finally able to fill our executive assistant slash fiscal manager position. So all of our upper management positions are filled, and we are fully staffed on the top end. We still have driver positions and dispatcher positions open, but
Can't really do much if you don't have the actual workers to do the job.
yep. So, but it's the labor market, like we've always contested on our side here as well. It's ever changing. I can say what other ones? There was another meeting that I had. Oh, I was going to also mention that there's the foster care appreciation banquet on Thursday night. For those of you that are interested.
Yep.
And I also encourage you guys to reach out to Alicia over there and put some pressure on getting the AIS station open, because there seems to be a lot of delays here. And now I've heard multiple things. I don't know. It's every bit of 7 days potential. I've heard that there's potentially could be more than that from when the ice is out. We're losing integrity on this if we have to basically tell people, well, you can go in the lake even without getting inspected, because we can't, there's no way to hold them accountable on an ordinance when they can't actually be compliant with it. So,
So what's the delay cost from?
We're not quite sure.
we're not quite sure. So I was under the impression that you would be open even if there was still ice on the lakes, because you could still get inspected and have the tag, because the tag is good until it's broken. So I would thought that at this point, you
start
budgeted
getting
all April, you should have been open the last 7 days of April, so you could at least have people that, folks that live on the lake, they can have their stuff inspected, so when they want to put it in, they can. But instead, we're going 7, I don't even know how many days from when they open, which seems kind of counterproductive.
I thought it was 7, but.
You don't want to wait till fishing opener to open up.
Right.
Well, that's where,
Exactly. So it's nice to get them inspected before
Not only
that.
that, but that doesn't solve the problem where they agreed to taking care of the lake providers.
Yep.
And inspecting those.
Yep. So that's where I'm, there's some dialogue that's lost from what we were kind of presented to earlier to where we're at now. I'm kind of going, why are we so far behind? I thought we'd be really ready to run with the whole winter off and had some time to really think it out, so.
Well, my prediction that ice will be out on May 1st.
Give me a heart attack there.
Sorry.
That was
We'll
just
see
trying to monitor.
we'll see if it happens by the end of the day.
Tell Derek his 3 minutes is up.
So, but that was it. I just wanted to, I just, if we're gonna do this, I wanted to make sure that we're being.
We get her
fair to
going.
everyone,
Yep.
That's all I have.
No, I'm sorry, the timer didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm good.
It was just, keeping track.
Is that what it is? You're good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, last week,
Wait a minute, let me start my timer.
yeah, you just start it now quick. Highway 25 Coalition met last Thursday morning. We were whittling down from A, B, C, D, and E options. A was by the nuclear plant. B was doing downtown with the Highway 25. C was right by the Moose Sherritt hockey rink by the hospital going across. D was by the Target, and E was a little farther east towards the Min Road. We eliminated B and C because it didn't make any sense. There's no way you're going to be able to take businesses out or do a one-way pair downtown Monticello. It's just not going to happen. C was also eliminated because it really doesn't connect anywhere. We had 3 projects, 3 potential locations at the beginning. They wanted us, the powers to be, wanted us to have at least 5, so we put them there. So now we're down to 3. The a little contentious because item E actually involves the township, which has not been part of any of the discussions. And anybody.
Is that Monticello Township?
Chris, Monticello Township, yeah. And as anybody who's been around knows that Monticello Township, it just sometimes don't play well together. So much so that we have a commission that Commissioner Vetch is on to kind of keep the peace. So with E being in the mix, we thought it prudent that before Monticello Township finds out and gets all whipped up, we will all go there and present to them the findings of the study when we have the open house and this and that, just so they're on the front end of this, because they weren't part of it. MnDOT says that even though it's a little bit farther east, it's still within their definition of the scope of area. So there's a little bit of a rub there, but we need to get that on the front end to make sure that Monticello Township doesn't start throwing grenades at us the whole time. And it's only the right thing to do, let them know what's going on, what these numbers come up with.
That's the one that's on the east side of Monticello.
Yeah, east side of Monticello, basically E would come out right by where the Min Road ends, somewhere over in that neighborhood. Does it line up real well with the things? Well, it's still, those are the three ones that are advancing forward to continue to study on. No decisions have been made yet on that one. Just the study area, just keep going forward, and more to come on that. Also had Safe Schools last Thursday, STMA, and basically it's mental health issues, and they've had some truancy issues lately, and that's been, some schools have had that where all of a sudden there's a rash of truancies for whatever reason. Dealing with some of those things, and I wanted, we had a joint meeting last night with the two cities and the school district, and STMA is a little bit ahead of the curve on the security for the schools, because other schools don't have. We've already in the second phase of security. We had the first security, and now they've enhanced that. And some schools have virtually no security. You can just walk right in the front door without anything, where STMA, you're not going to get in the front door without going through.
Without being buzzed in.
Without being buzzed in. So they're a little ahead of the curve. There's some talk down at the legislature about doing those security enhancements. The problem the school districts have, including STMA, is once the state gets involved, and they give you the money, but then there's a lot of strings attached on how you're going to do it and who regulates it and and they want the local control issue, and that's part of why they were doing it before.
Well, didn't Buffalo have a bond issue last year for that sort of stuff?
They've done a lot of improvements in the entrances to the schools, but yeah, like where my grandson goes to kindergarten, I mean, you have to walk into the office first, so you can't just walk into the school. Yeah, it depends on the building.
So there's more to come on that, but it's like, say, your typical safe schools, they have their issues, mental health, and all these different things here. Last night I was at the City of Albertville. They had the continuation of the Board of Equalization. We're going to have fun June 18th, because we have a bunch of people that want to, not just there, but other cities that are challenging the values because they don't think it was there. One particular gentleman in St. Michael thinks we should reduce his value by 40%.
Well, the values have gone up all over.
Correct. And I informed that some of the people that were there last night in Albertville is you have the right to challenge other people's value. If you think their value is too low, you have the right to challenge that. And people don't realize that if you think your value is too high and you don't get any relief, what if the neighbor who's got the same exact house and he's $100,000 less than you have the right to challenge it to make sure that they're being treated fair. Most people where every town, every quadrant, every fourth year they come down and do a full neighborhood reevaluation. Some of it happens to be with the houses that were built right before the recession, 2005 to 2007-ish there, went for a pretty high dollar amount. Then the value went down, and now the values are coming back, and they're screaming, well, my house is 11 years old, and I can't be compared to a brand new house. Challenge either way, but the assessor's office, Tony was there last night, they went through it and were getting chirped at a lot, and they did a real great job doing it. And the other thing is Thomas, who was the assessor for Waverly, he went to my mother-in-law's place and he held himself up high, did a great job as far as listening to the constituent, went through, analyzed it, and that's, so hats off to Tony and his crew for that. And the other thing, tonight, MnDOT's having an open house on Highway 24 at Clearwater City Hall. And then Wednesday night is St. Michael has their land use plan open house. So that's a big ticket because that's been a while since it's been done. And Thursday I'll be at a railroad technology showcase down at the Capitol. I got invited to do that, and I just want to see what's going on that because that's the next thing that's coming at us at some point in time. Since we have 55 and 12, the rails coming through, I want to see some of the supposedly smart technologies coming here to help us alleviate traffic burdens and what have you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Is my 3 minutes up yet?
No, you still have another 2. Coordinator Kelly, you have anything?
Yes, sir, I do. Kind of centering around 2 topics. The first, relative to the Justice Center. I think you received notice that the S&P has reconfirmed our AA+ rating. And as you recall, the bonds will go out for sale next Monday, and Tuesday we'll accept what comes back as that. So good news on that. Second item, we're trying to schedule a groundbreaking. I'm looking for time on May 15th is kind of what's been tossed around. I know there's some conflicts in the afternoon, but we are wondering if 11 o'clock would work for the board.
I can make it 11.
11 works for me,
Okay.
yeah.
11 o'clock, because we're only talking 30 minutes, right?
It's probably going to be relatively short.
Yeah, because I can basically scoot by 11:40. I can still make Glencoe by 1, I would think.
I would hope.
I hope.
Where are you, is that Galen, or where are you going?
Glencoe.
Glencoe.
If not, we'll let you use the county jet to get there.
All right.
So just wanted to ask on that so we can get schedules arranged as.
So May 15th at 11 a.m.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
should we make that as a motion because there'll be 5 of us there and potentially...
As well.
Well, I wouldn't say 5 of us, but you never know.
Well, potential for a quorum there. And
There is,
There's a potential for a quorum,
yep.
because I won't be there.
You won't?
I'll make a motion. We
Well,
authorize
don't we, if
attendance.
this is a photo op, you don't want to be part of the picture of the groundbreaking?
No.
No?
we'll have Mark on a stick, we'll have a picture of him.
I'll make a motion. We authorize attendance for the groundbreaking.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Houston. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
So you're protesting it, huh?
No, I'm still on the witness protection program.
That's
I don't
right.
want to have my
Oh.
picture in the paper.
I forgot. I don't know how that works when it's in there every week in the Buffalo paper, but you know.
What else do you have? Anything?
I do one other item. I wanted to make sure the board was aware that there was an amendment passed in the Ways and Means Committee of the House relative to House File 4016, which is becoming the finance bill for the House side. Included in that, Representative Mark Wart from up by Becker County put in for a reimbursement for Becker and Wright counties. So I've reached out to the senators to make sure that they're aware that that language has been adopted. Bipartisan adoption. It was pitched by, as I mentioned, Mr. Mark Wart, who is from the DFL. So we're hoping that that gets into the final bill for the finance that would reimburse us for our costs that we spent in defending the Office of State Auditor lawsuit. So sounds like it's getting traction moving forward. So I wanted to make sure the board was aware of that.
So was there a companion bill in the Senate?
Not as of yet.
Okay, so, yeah, hopefully they will. It's only fair. We didn't have to be part of it. Well, Charlie did, but the rest of us didn't. All righty, nothing else?
That's all I had.